You fell asleep? Okay, this is live. This is qualifying. This is indeed quality, guys. So get hyped, lads. We are... What is wrong with my mic? Here we go, baby. Alright, it's quality time. Ooh, slight delay, apparently. So that's cool. We haven't missed anything, okay? Don't stress, lads. We're good. What lighting is best? That lighting? Nope. That's definitely a no. That one? That's a no. Yeah, we'll go with this one. Alright, there we go. Cooking time, baby. Welcome to qualifying around Austria. One of my favorite tracks. I have to say, look, am I biased because I am better around here than some other places? Maybe. But also, I don't have to worry about that because, well, obviously, I'm not an F1 driver, so forget about it. Yeah, quite a big fan. Don't really mind this. Makes for good racing. I just, over the years, you know, it's been great. What are we thinking heading into this weekend? Of course, we've had the McLaren showing some decent pace. The Merc was doing all right. George was putting in some good times. But as per usual, it doesn't mean anything until now, right? Unfortunately, it's kind of not very telling for the most part. It'll be interesting. It will be a peculiar one, shall we say. Nah, Oscar? Yeah. Max will take pole is, in my opinion, a little bit bold. Personally, I don't think so. But look, I'd love to be proven wrong. Don't get me wrong. Would love to be proven wrong. Best of luck. Best of luck to him. Ugh. You'll come back to y'all? Alright, you come back. You come back. Maybe it's better to come in from this way. There we go. Alright. Snowden will probably take P12. I mean, I don't know how bold of a statement that is, but like, yeah, I read it. Ospina. Kevin Alice Ospina. I hope that Aston Martin does well. Obviously, you know, I don't mind the team. I think that's a fair shout. Cracky. Diana Banana, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Austria. This is gonna be a good watch. I'll be honest, heading into it, I've not got an awful lot of expectation. It's always the sort of event where the race is incredibly interesting, qualifying super close. It's just a thriller all the way around. As far as narratives go coming into the weekend, of course, Max Verstappen is a little bit on the cusp of getting in some trouble. As we kind of know, Max is teetering with a race ban, in which case Arvid Lindblad might be licking his lips, but I do not know 100% if he has sufficient... what's it called? Yeah, I'm not sure. Does Max... I'm sorry, does Arvid have enough super license points to compete in a Grand Prix weekend? I suppose if he's taking part in in practice. In Silverstone, he should, right? Who am I rooting for? Well, I guess overall, Oscar. Let's be real. Oscar is kind of who I'm rooting for in the sense of who I want to win the championship, because it's, you know, let's be honest, as much as I'd love Aston Martin to do well, they're not really in a championship fight this year, so I'm not going to say I'm, like, in that sense, it's a bit of go Oscar. Also, quad lock, you know how it be. What can I say? How long is this delayed? It's blurry for you. Is it still Q1? Yes, it is still qualifying 1. Yeah, so it's Q1 here. Alex has had a decent run of quali form. He's got into 4 out of the last 5 Q3 sessions, which is good for the Williams. When does quali start? It has been delayed, so I'm not 100% certain. I'm just going to have to wait and find out. Justice for you as an Aston fan, coming from a Ferrari fan. Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough one. But rain delay? No, not rain delay. It's not going to be a wet quali. There was an incident in the F2 sprint race, so they're delaying that one because of that. Dad, thank you for the follow. And not my dad, someone called Dad, for the record. My dad is probably asleep. It's going to be interesting to see how things pan out. I'm obviously hoping for Oscar to do quite well. He's done well here. He got P2 last year, but also, as we know, this is a Lando special circuit, so to speak. Lando's incredibly strong around here. Historically, incredibly strong is Lando Norris around here. Is it a green screen? Yes, it is. Unfortunately, due to the array, I actually have cooler things in real life that I'd want to put behind me, but I just can't. The reason it's a green screen is because due to the way that I've set everything up in my room, I've just got a wall right behind me. So, like, right here is a wall. So it had to be a green screen, or it's just going to be a white wall, and that's not a whole lot of fun. And also, the green screen gives me flexibility to do a lot of different things. I'm quite a fan of it. But yeah, I have a display case which hasn't actually been looked at for over a year now, with a bunch of cool things in there. Got lots of old F1 stuff in there. Got a couple signed hats, a few things like that. One from Sebastian Vettel, which was the first thing I got, which was super special to me. And then Fernando and Lance, so standard Aston Martin stuff, I guess. But yeah, hey, it is what it is. Look, speaking of, there's Fernando, looking sharp, looking old. You know how it be. Yeah, no sprint weekend this year in Austria, so green flag is out, ladies and gentlemen. That is the start of qualifying. Let's go, baby. Fernando's going out nice and early, as is one of the Williams. Or are they still waiting? Oh no, they're just doing a practice start at the end of the pit lane, as they are permitted to do these days. Creating a little bit of traffic behind, but that's okay. Yeah, take your time. Got 18 minutes. It's a strange pit lane, because you essentially are getting to a hairpin with walls, by the way, and then you kind of straight back out. It's got a decent exit speed. It's somewhat representative of just a regular car, right? But like lots of other tracks, it's a really disadvantaged spot to have some pit exits, at the very end of, or like 3/4 down a straight. Whereas here, it's nicely placed on the exit of it's not a very quick, it's not a very slow, it's a nice medium speed sort of corner, climbing and then down the hill. It's not too bad. So we've got, obviously, the the bottom 5, beg my pardon, getting eliminated from Q1, then the next bottom 5 in Q2, and then Q3, so on and so forth. And that's just standard by now, of course. Unless it's a sprint quali, but not too many people are very fond of that now, let's be real. I think with sprint quality, that there's opportunity there to do a few different things. Obviously, we've got sprint weekends being now completely separate from the actual race weekend. I didn't mind it when the sprint led into the race itself, because there was a disparity between people at the top wanting to play it safe and not mess up their starting position for the race, and then people at the back wanting to kind of gamble it because they haven't got a whole lot to lose. So you kind of got the risk and reward is completely polarized for the sprint. And there were some really interesting things that came because of that. I mean, I'd argue that Daniel Ricciardo won his race with McLaren in Monza because of the sprint weekend, right? And Hamilton was able to come from P20 to P1 over the sprint in Brazil. So there was a lot of interesting things that came from the sprint weekend being sort of integrated into the main feature race. But I mean, we've changed it now to have it completely separate, which I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of personally. It's almost like the rich get richer in a few ways. I feel like, granted, we have had a Ferrari win a sprint race this year, so you could argue that what I'm about to say is not true, but I feel like it's not going to see an awful lot of a difference between, you know, the sprint outcome and the main race outcome. It's just slightly slower. Well, it's quicker, sorry. I'd like to see something interesting, like a Formula E style qualifying, if you're unaware with that, where essentially they kind of do 1v1s and stuff like that, which is quite cool. Try something new. Alex Albon, quickest overall, Carlos Sainz behind. He's going to be a few tenths down on his teammate. And he's also behind Lance Stroll. The Aston Martin is coming alive, ladies and gentlemen. I will have you know. Someone says Fleety, HHHB. Let me guess, you are Tyson Pretty John. And you're sat with Brody Loftus. Perchance. It's complete pulling out of my ass. Ryu Hirakawa, reserve driver for Haas. It's Jet. Hello, Jet. What's happening, brother? Demon Schillen, thank you for the follow. Welcome along. The Haas so far is quickest, though that said, the competition is Williams, Aston Martin, and Alpine. So you're kind of looking towards the... Get a Sauber in there, and you're looking at the bottom few teams. Actually, I'd say Williams is probably stronger than the Racing Bulls and the second Red Bull seat, based on performance evident this season. I'm good, thanks, Jet. What's happening with you, my friend? How you been? Is that Colapinto having a lap time deleted? I believe that to be the case. Yeah. So Lando Norris on his outlap, taking his time. It's going to be fascinating to see if there's any times deleted sort of after the conclusion of the session. How do I like the game? The new F1 game's pretty good, I can't lie. I'm not the greatest at it, as is evident in my content, but I enjoy it. It's good fun. I need to do some more long-form stuff with it, but the only problem with long-form content on the F1 game is that it's incredibly saturated, right? Where career modes and stuff like that, there's so many people doing it that, in my opinion, I just think there's only so much that people want to watch that sort of stuff. And I mean, I'm not gonna have a sook, but because I'd be the same position. If you're gonna watch a career mode series, who are you gonna watch? Arav or Ben or me? You're probably gonna pick a couple of the other lads. So it's like, you know, it's a really saturated place, you know. Max is starting his first lap now. We've got a question: who's going to be the 5th team in the championship this year? We've obviously got Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Williams. Yes, absolutely Williams. Maybe we'll give it a couple races, give it a few. You could see an Aston Martin late charge, potentially. But I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Just see how the pace looks over the next couple of race weekends. It should... Look, Silverstone's a pretty good teller of pace. I feel like it's a very demanding track in terms of aerodynamic ability. So you know, lots of high-speed corners. It's good. So we've got Verstappen now rounding the final corner. He's going to set the fastest lap for the interim by half a second, and Lando is now rounding the final corner, and what is his pace? Up against Max. It is fastest by another 4/10. Oscar has had a mistake in the second sector now. He went purple in Sector 1 and has unfortunately had a bit of an incident and has abandoned the lap. Do I always do quali? No, not always. It just so happens to be a European round where it's not at 4 a.m, so I'm going to do quali. Yeah, so Oscar's had an incident into turn 4, track limits there. He's abandoned the rest of that lap. He might stay out now, do a second, he might do a cool down lap and then a push lap on that set of tyres, but we will wait and see. But in the meantime, we can look to the top of the grid and see that Lando Norris is 4.5 tenths clear of Max and both Ferraris. 7 tenths clear of Yuki Tsunoda too. So if that's all you need to know, there you go. First McLaren, second Mercedes, third Ferrari, fourth RB. Oh, sorry. I read RB and I think RB. Yeah, Red Bull. That makes sense. Yep. Williams, fifth. Haas, sixth. Racing Bulls, seventh. Eighth, Aston Martin, ninth, Stake, and Alpine, 10th. Yeah, based on current performance, I wouldn't say you're too far off. Antonelli goes fourth fastest. Hadjar, there you go. And this is what I was going to say, is I'd put the Racing Bulls above Haas and potentially Williams on current pace. Potentially. On their day. I mean, let me quickly pull up the standings for you and just fact check this. But are they not pretty much on par? Let me check this out. Alrighty, let's have a look here. Let's have a look. So let's look at F1. Yeah, so we've got the results, driver standings. So we've got Hadjar on 21 points and Carlos on 13. And the second Racing Bull seat, Liam Lawson with 4 points. So, look, if it weren't for Albon on a hefty 42 points, congratulations, by the way, he has just gone off track limits there, I believe, picking up a lot of gravel onto the racing line. If it weren't for Albon, of course, you know, he is there, so you can't play this hypothetical, but if it weren't for Albon, Racing Bulls would be, well, yeah, 12 points clear of Williams. So if Carlos, if it's a hypothetical, if Williams had 2 Carlos Sainzes, they would only be ahead of Racing Bulls by 1 point. That's all I'm trying to say. So there's definitely pace in the car. They're finding more consistency. I definitely, at the moment, and would be confident in it staying as such, that Merc will be second fastest. Ferrari has the pace, I think, to maintain third fastest, depending on how things pan out, of course. But we're looking at a Max Verstappen. We're looking at Max Verstappen. You know, what are you going to argue against him? You know. The hell? What the hell is that on my screen? What the hell? Interesting. And of course, we can have a look at the team standings, of course, for the time being. So you do have Williams 5th and Haas 6th, but tied in 6th on points with Racing Bulls. And Aston Martin's only 6 points behind. I think the one surefire thing is that Alpine can be expected to remain last. And that is no disrespect intended to them. It's just that the rest of the competition is actually decent right now. Can't really argue against that. If Max wasn't on Red Bull, they'd be dead last. It's a crazy fact. Yeah. Yet they're 4th. So right now we've got Lando, of course, 3 tenths clear of Piastri. You're going to look at that Piastri time and go, he's 3 tenths behind Lando. However, that was on a set of tyres that had done half a lap pushing, and then a cool down lap, and then another push lap. So you can expect to be maybe at least call it 2/10 in that on the tires alone. So I wouldn't look into that too much, to be honest. Come on, Pierre Gasly. Yeah, P6, mate. That's the thing, is that the Alpine does have flashes of pace, right? Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, you've got to say that it is built for his driving style, and I do agree with that. But it's a statement with a lot of nuance, and let me break it down. The fact is that making the car sharper, pointier, as a means of getting pace it's more efficient and effective if the driver can manage it. You know, you're playing a video game, let's say you're playing bloody Fortnite, and you turn the sensitivity up to 200%. If you have a person who can just flick the mouse and get it spot on, hit their shots on 200%, I mean, do a complete 180 and in like a tiny little fraction of a movement and still hit that headshot. Great, that's absolutely unbelievable. It's just incredibly hard to manage. So for Red Bull, you got to look at the cost-benefit analysis across the board. If Red Bull know that they can, across the board, you know, forget Max, forget Yuki, they're one entity. If they know that they can get 15 points out of a weekend instead of 2 points, instead of like 8 points out of a weekend, if they can get 15 out of the weekend by making the car sharper, pointier, harder to drive for the average Joe, but know that Max can get the best out of it, it's just a fact of like, that is just the better choice, and it is the more effective, efficient approach for them. If with limited resources, and especially now with focusing on the 2026 car, they're not exactly going to invest a whole lot of resources. The car is going to be pretty much what it is. It's going to remain hard to drive for the average Joe. Max, of course, is just that good. He is the greatest driver that we've got right now. Though, again, you argue, you put Max in the Aston Martin, and how much better than than Fernando is he? Or you put him in the McLaren, and how does he match up with Lando and Oscar? And again, they might actually be more level playing field, because Max does like that pointy car, and Max can extract that kind of stupid pace that is risky and have it be safe, if that makes sense. I've waffled on there for a little bit, but that is pretty much the situation with Max Verstappen's, making the car based on his preferences and stuff like that. Hello, Nicole. Welcome along. How are we? Laura Mueller, the race engineer for Ocon at Haas. I'm tired. Demon Chillin says that they are Omega trash. Nicole, welcome along. Are you a separate Nicole? Because I'm looking at Nicole, and then I've got Neocole. Would Max be quick if he had a car that was not built for his driving style? Yes. Yes, he would be quick. I reckon he'd be safely on par with Lando and Piastri in the same car. Safely on par. Now, would he be as far ahead as he is currently in the Red Bull based on the comparison between him and his teammate? One, no, because the drivers are better, and that's no disrespect to Yuki, or Perez, or Lawson, or Daniel. Well, Daniel had the best fight, right? But Lando and Oscar, obviously, very great drivers. Esteban Ocon right now incredibly struggling to get into the top 15. It does seem that he will be knocked out, whether it's on this lap or not. I'm sure people behind him will improve. Liam Lawson is currently third fastest, ladies and gentlemen. Do not sleep on the Racing Bulls and the New Zealander. That is Liam Lawson. How about that? Faster than Max Verstappen on that previous lap. Yes, we can say that there will be some element of track evolution. However, that is still a very good time by 9/10 as well. 9/10ths, no, 9/100ths. And there you go, Charles Leclerc, P7. So Liam Lawson has gone quicker than Charles. Has Charles put on new softs? Who knows? But that's a stonking lap. Well in, Liam. Did I like the F1 movie? I've not seen it yet. I've got a lot of... I've got lots of content and I'm pushing out at the moment, but most of all, I've got exams still with university, so I'm just waiting till that's done, and I'll go see it in a few days. Fernando Alonso rounds the final corner, and it's P8! Come on! Well in, Fernando. That is a good lap for the Aston Martin driver. Lance Stroll now, I believe he has just finished his lap, so that's P13 for him. Tsunoda's in the drop zone. He's just finished his lap. He's out. P17. He could do a second push lap if he has the ERS and if he has the tyres as well. Millen, thank you very much for the follow on Twitch. Welcome along. Hope you're good. Your grower garden. Nice. George Russell now in P15, very much at risk, and he is improving on Lando Norris. Yuki Tsunoda is out, guys. He's on a slow lap. He's not going to make it around. That move was clean. All right, Millen, join my Discord. Type !Discord into the chat, and then we can have a chat as much as you like. George he's gonna need to have a great day. Enjoy your day, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to join the Discord on Twitch, go to the link in my description in my bio, and you can join it from there. The !Discord only unfortunately works for Twitch. I'll do it there. George Russell rounds the final corner, and that might just be enough. He goes P11, and he should be safe because you're looking at Ollie Behrman in the pits, Leclerc in the pits, Stroll and Ocon, and Tsunoda is out as well. Okay, yeah, he's safe. And Carlos is P19 as well, guys. Yikes. That is a bit of a shame for Carlos. I'll be honest, I want to see him matching Alex a little bit more. Gabriel Bortoletto in P8 as well, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I will point that one out thanks to Charles Galwood Dunn. That is a very nice performance for the man who has struggled, I think it's safe to say, to this point. His teammate, meanwhile, in P20, Tsunoda on the radio. Mate, I didn't have any front grip, bro. That is a shame. There is a question to be asked. Were they at right temps? Were they a use set? I doubt it, since he was already in the drop zone. Surely they wouldn't risk that. Reasons for debrief. You're new to F1. Why are drivers eliminated? So essentially what we're doing here is we are in the qualifying sessions. In the qualifying sessions, you have the grid set for the race. Now, to set the grid for the race, obviously you're going to see who gets the fastest lap time, but they do it in an elimination style. So they have 3 different sessions: qualifying 1, Q1, Q2, qualifying 2, and Q3. The first session is Q1, and in that session, the bottom 5, the 5 slowest drivers, will get eliminated. Moving into Q2, and Q2, the bottom 5 drivers will be eliminated from that, and then we go through to Q3, which is the top 10, and that just sets, that's the final one, and that's the top 10 set for the race. This is a good system because as track evolution changes, the strategy is kind of resetting everyone, stepping into the little bit further up the grid. And it's been the same pretty much for the last decade or so, and it's good. It's great. Makes for some good excitement as we go on. They did used to have a rule whereby you had to start whatever set you got into Q3 on, so the final, if you got into the top 10, whatever tyres you got into that on, you had to start the race on, which I'm honestly not too opposed to maybe bringing it back, maybe for the sprint, because well, it brought in some strategy, right? Because you'd realistically want to start the race on the optimal race tyre, which for the most part this year is a medium or a hard. Not many people are using a soft in a race, by design. They want to make them degrade quicker, bring more strategy in. Using a soft is not a favourable strategy around 95% of the tracks. So, it was the fastest lap in Q3 tyres, wasn't it? No, it was. think they might have had it for a while there as that, but it did used to be at one point, and I loved it. It was whatever you got into Q3 on. So people were doing their laps in Q2 on mediums to get into Q3. So then, yeah. Where did I get the timing page? So I've got this timing page through F1 TV and F1 Multiviewer. So if you have an F1 TV subscription, it's a paid subscription. If you have an F1 TV subscription, then you can, on my desktop, on my laptop, whatever you want to call it, F1 Multiviewer, and you download that, and then sign in with your F1 TV subscription, and then you can get the telemetry. It depends on where you are. Yeah, I think Signs, because he went on the gravel, right? Probably floor damage, right? Signs D1 cell. Yeah, that's an unfortunate session for Carlos. I think he just pushed the limits a little bit too hard on that first, and then probably got some floor damage. I mean, I'll wait to see if there's confirmation. I'm not 100% sure. Do I think Piastri will run away with the championship? Well, run away with it is probably not what I will estimate. Do I think he will be relatively stable in his fight for the championship? Yeah. I mean, I'm confident. I'm confident in Oscar. I have a lot of high hopes. Carlos did say damage. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, look, I do believe that he's got it. It's his championship to lose. That might be a bit of a bold statement so early in the season, but I mean, naturally it is, right? I mean, he's leading it right now, so it's not an incorrect statement. But coming into the season, I had the feeling that Oscar would pick it up. The reason being that coming into this season, right, you've got Lando and Max kind of pushing towards the end of the last season as a championship fight, and Max being Max with the more competition, he's probably going to run himself into a little bit of a scuffle here or there, as we sort of saw here last year in Austria with Lando, when Lando was really, he had Max on toast towards the end of the race, and they kind of both, they had their incident, and George ended up winning. But coming into this season, all the pressure from McLaren's end was on Lando, and then obviously Max is Max, and he's kind of got that pressure on him as the winning 4 championships in a row, and so we knew that the Red Bull was going to be kind of slower. But so Lando, okay, championship favorite coming into the season, what have you. McLaren is obviously going to have the best car, but all the pressure's on Lando. Max is just gonna think psychologically. Max is going to identify that, okay, Lando's my boy. Those two are going to go, and then before you know it, Oscar, 1 being rapid, 2 being the calm head that he is, and 3 kind of, minding his own business and coming through clean scathed. He was always going to have that benefit to him. Then the other thing as well is that going into a season and knowing, okay, I have a championship fight on my hands here from day one, and every point matters. No disrespect to Lando whatsoever, but I would pin Oscar as maybe the best suited mindset driver to win the world championship, or to be in that situation, I should say. Oscar is just so switched on, and also at the same time switched off, if that makes any sense. Things don't phase him. Well, obviously, naturally, they do. He has human reactions. He has emotions. He's normal. But Oscar has just this professionalism and this grit. I don't really know how to describe it other than from a psychological and just like a personal thing. He's not going to let anything get in his head. Like, it's not a matter of like, he's just the best F1 driver, and he's better than any F1 driver. I just think as a person, he's just that kind of guy. And he's got a good team around him. Mark Webber, yep, Shane. Mark Webber, he's got a great squad around him. And that kind of brings me to my final point. And this is something that, look, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm gonna pat myself on the back. When Oscar first joined McLaren 3 years ago, I called it from day one. I said, Oscar will win a world championship before Lando Norris. Now, I could still be proven wrong. Okay, this clip could come back to me in 5 months' time and I'll look like an idiot. But my prediction was made that Oscar would win a world championship before Lando 3 years ago. My reason being this. Now, at that time, McLaren went into the season and their first race, they were plumb last. They had a lot of growing to do. And it took them some time in the end. And I knew that would be the case. I mean, you're looking at Oscar and Lando, even Oscar in his first season and Lando in his third or fourth season at that point. You know that one of those, or both of those drivers are championship winning material. And that's needless to say. And the team seemed to have the right trajectory. You know, the performances weren't necessarily there. Obviously, heading into the season, it was like, okay, well, we're dead last. But if you recognize patterns, and you can kind of tell this team's going somewhere or they're not. And even if they weren't going somewhere or they weren't initially, I had faith that in a couple of years' time they could be turning it around. And fortunately, I was right. But they were never going to be winning a championship or 1 or 2 seasons. So we can get rid of that. They're plumb lost. You're not going to win a championship in 2 seasons, okay? So get rid of that. 3 seasons could be possible. And that's where we are today. Now, I thought 3 seasons, within 3 years, Oscar will be able to be better than Lando head-to-head. Without a doubt. Again, no disrespect to Oscar. But 3 years in F1, with a good team, a strong system, and some pretty solid pace and talent, you're going to be up to speed. Especially if you're just this incredible talent, which Oscar is. So I said it 3 years ago, that Oscar will win a championship before Lando, and it's looking like I'm probably going to be right. Could be wrong, and if I am, toot 'em sweets, you know, it's like, I don't care. But my logic has held up, that by the time the car was going to be competitive, Oscar would be in a position to be better than or equal to Lando, give or take little nuances, and here, Lando's better here, Oscar's better here, whatever. So, there you go. It looks like it's going to happen. Mr. Keithan, once again. But hey-ho, what you going to do? Look, it's going to be interesting. That is for damn sure. What is going to be interesting as well is to see how the times shape up throughout the rest of this. Hang on, who's that talking to? Oh, it's Dietrich's son, I believe. Rest in peace. Good man. Very intelligent fellow, that lad. Can I lie? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, don't you know what that's worth? Oh, heaven is a place on earth. Hajar on his way out now. He's about to round up Sector 1, and that is a pretty strong sector. He's less than a 10th down in Sector 1 on Charles Leclerc. Not a bad lap whatsoever. Spy, thank you for the follow. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. EZZZZ1503. Welcome. Thank you very much for the follow, ladies and gentlemen. What's happening? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the server. Yeah, are you in well, Charles, if I wanted to, I could just make a bunch of extra email accounts and you'd be buying me Singapore tickets, but I wouldn't want to run you up the street like that. You will win a championship before Kimi Antonelli? Alright, buddy. Settle down. And not likely, that one. Liam Lawson goes quickest overall, by the way. For the time being, of course. But Max is actually not... Hang on. Surely this is a used set. Lawson's... Guys. Max is on new tyres, and Liam Lawson was on new tyres as well. But he's only less than 1.5 tenths clear of the Racing Bull. And this is why I tell you that watch out for those RBs, because they are rapid. Even faster is the McLaren. Oscar is half a second up in the first 2 sectors on Max Verstappen's time. That's phenomenal. And George Russell, slower than the Racing Bulls. However, on used tyres. Piastri is on new set. And across the line, he is quicker by 5.5 cents. And Lando is pretty much bar on the exact same time. He's 1,000th quicker in the first 2 sectors. It's going to come down to sector 3. That was turned in nice and sharp. Turn it in, get a good exit. He looked to kind of miss the apex a little bit on the final corner, but clearly he carried a high enough middle corner speed, because that is fastest by over a tenth and a bit. Yeah, Max is in absolutely provisional pole. Supported McLaren since 2020. Yeah, mate. I think I also cried in Monza 2021 to see Daniel on the top step. It was the first time I heard the first time I'd heard the Australian national anthem in F1 for a long time, other than on the starting grid at Australia. Max is not happy. Max is not happy with the Red Bulls one bit. He has no grip. Low speed, medium speed, high speed. And apparently it's just shit everywhere. Who's my favourite driver? Oscar Piastri. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. You know how it be. If you're a McLaren fan, you would have used to pray for times like this, because this is unbelievable scenes. Ibrahim, welcome along. Hope you're doing well, brother. Ooh, Lewis Hamilton dipping tyres in the dirt on the exit of the final corner there. Those are some, textbook strats. Thank you, Ibrahim. I appreciate you saying hello. Much love. Red flag? What has happened? Gravel on the circuit? It will be. The dirt, yeah, from Lewis. That's understandable. Oh, grass on fire. Interesting. Well done, Lewis. Well done. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. Please don't ban me for using copyright music. Alright. Charles, let's do it. I've got some plans too, of course. Got some ideas cooking. We shall chat. I've got my exam on Wednesday, and then I've got a meeting on Monday. Tuesday I'll be preparing for exam. After Wednesday we are cooking. YouTube is on to me. Yeah, I'm gonna get cooked for that. Hopefully I was out of key enough that they won't pick it up. We'll be fine. So Ollie Behrman is in the drop zone right now in P12, as is Albon in 11th, Alonso in 13th, 14th Bortoleto, and 15th Colapinto. So, what happens with this red flag now is that run plans are... never said, but you're from... and in Britain. Nice. Sorry, my brain was not able to read that for a second there for some reason. There was fire on the circuit for the red flag. So on the exit, the final corner, Lewis Hamilton went a little bit wide, kicked up some sparks right on... No one crashed, just a fire. Just a fire, that's all. He kicked up some sparks onto the dead grass, and that was enough to start a bit of a fire, unfortunately for them. What happened to Sonoda? Well, he got knocked out in Q1. P17. P18, sorry. Yikes, even worse. Not bad. They're comparing track dominance between Hamilton and Verstappen right now. Do they think it's 2021? I'd like to see the dominance between Norris and Piastri, because they're the ones that are really going to be heading for pole position. Who will win the Drivers' Championship? If I was to say, and while I said 2 seconds ago that my favorite driver is Oscar, unbiased opinion, unbiased 100%, and I can back it with facts if I want to, but I literally spoke about this 2 seconds ago. Oscar it would be my favorite to win the championship, and that's based on nothing but logic. Obviously, there's an element of source, trust me, bro, because that's what, my brain, I can verbalize it and put logic to the reason why I'm feeling the way I am. But I'm thinking about everything that's going on. I'm, making an understanding of the situation. Oscar's got it. Barring, incidents and a fumble in form. But as far as fumble in form goes, Oscar, to me, is the least likely for it to occur to. Who could fumble in form? So let's consider right now, I know this is bold, but let's think that Mercedes aren't part of it. Let's think it's Max and the 2 McLarens, okay? Who might fumble in form? Well, unfortunately, and I don't like to say it because I love Lando, but Lando, unfortunately, has shown that there is a few bumps potentially in driving form, and that's natural, right? We see that with every driver, but it does bite you sometimes when you are fighting for every last point with a teammate who is going to push you right to the end. So Lando could potentially drop points here and there due to that, or what might happen, little mistake, little crash with Max, crash with Oscar, whatever. Penalties, engine issues, who knows? Not that we've had many engine issues in the last few years. Max, we know, and we're seeing it right now, is that the car it's a bit of a vulnerability. The car's a bit of a liability. They're likely to not be quick at a few tracks, or not the quickest at a few tracks. So that is Max will drop points. Oscar, I'd say Mr. Consistent, super Max, super pace, has the best car, is likely to have the best car at every race. I feel like he's a complete package at this stage in his career. And he's proving it. These are things that are backed by facts. If you have a look at the championship from this year, minus Australia, which unfortunately, Oscar's home race, yes, he did finish P7 or P8 in the end. Was it P8? Let me pull this up. Jamie, pull it up. Barring that, he's been very good. Here we go, 25 season. So we've got... okay, so Australia, where did he finish? So he finished P9. So he finished P9 in his home race. So forget about that. Thank you for the follow, Jay Rossi. Welcome along, brother. Or sister. Whatever have you. And then we go from there. And we go to the 2025 results. 2025 season. And let's have a look at how this has panned out, shall we? Let's go all the way back to the start. And we've got Australia, P9. China, P1. This is for Oscar. Japan, P3. Bahrain, P1. Saudi, P1. Miami, P1. Imola, P3. Monaco, P3. Spain, P1. Canada, P4. While Lando, DNF. Well, not DNF, but... Well, no, he did DNF. Sorry. Sorry. I don't know why I said didn't. So we're looking at Mr. Consistent here, who's now leading the championship by over 20 points to his teammate. And to Max even further. So, Oscar, do be my pick. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're watching on TikTok right now, make sure you head over to, well, first of all, drop us a follow here, and head over to Instagram. That's where we're posting every single day. We are also posting here on TikTok, but Instagram, let's be real, guys, it's the place to be. Don't tell TikTok. Lucia, thank you for sharing the live. And of course, Jay Rossi, thank you for the follow. Who's going to get pole today? Obviously, Lando Norris is currently sat on pole. It is Q2. It's only Q2. I think Oscar has a highly strong chance. It's hard to tell. It really is. And especially in Austria. Now, it is a short lap, so the times are naturally going to be closer together. But it's the sort of track where you can push the limits quite hard. And big balls and a little bit of skill sometimes can save you. There's a lot of... Pretty much every corner is a crucial corner. You just... There is time to gain everywhere. There are some tracks where there's a corner where it's like... Yeah, okay. You know, that's, you can kind of make a mistake there and then make it up the next corner. Nah. Like, realistically, around here, everywhere is vital. Lawson has pace today. He absolutely is flying. P6 right now. He's 0.2, or less than 0.2, a tenth and a half behind Max. And Tsunoda's made a mistake. Tsunoda is absolutely awful. No, I don't agree with that. I do think that he's going to have a case to argue if things stay the same. But also, Red Bull know that this is a bit of a sinking ship, the second seat right now. They know, and again, this is why I bring back to what I said earlier about the situation of Red Bull thinking about, okay, if we can give Max if we can make the car a bit twitchier, we know that Max can get some points out of it quicker, and it's just a quick fix. Red Bull are thinking of 2026. They're thinking we want to finish as high as we can this year and go into 2026 as strong as we can. Being more prize money, wind tunnel time's cool, but prize money being the big one. Of course, they finished third in the championship last year, so that helped their case. But, look, I don't think they need to get rid of him ASAP. I'll be honest. Whomever they put in that seat, they're going to struggle. And if you think that, and this is where I'll throw you I'll see a situation, I'll raise a situation. If it's your belief that Tsunoda is the worst candidate for the seat, so this, I want to run you through my situation, like my thought process. If you think that Tsunoda doesn't deserve to be in the Red Bull seat because someone better could take his seat, I would argue that you would want him to stay in that seat. You might be thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Look, I think it's a shared opinion among the F1 paddock right now that Racing Bull is the favorable seat to be in for someone that isn't Max Verstappen. It's kind of crazy, but it is. Right? I mean, we've got a P6 and a P8. Liam Lawson is currently P6 in the sister team. And he didn't get a point in the Red Bull when he was there. And he struggled when he was there. Tsunoda before he went, there is literally Hadjar. But yes, Joel, but what I'm saying, my friend, is that Hadjar is better off staying at Racing Bulls than moving to Red Bull. And he knows it too. Anyone that's talking about this in the paddock knows you don't want to go to Red Bull right now. They would rather stay at Racing Bulls. Look at them. They're both going to... I'd say that if they both don't get through to Q3, I'll be shocked. I expect to see, realistically, the bottom five stay relatively the same as it is. Maybe Gasly gets dropped out for an Albon or something like that. Everyone used to shit on Checo, but he was actually good in that second seat. Absolutely, I agree with you. And I said it at the time. Checo's a great driver. Like, are we forgetting the man who went from P20? He went from P19 at the time, because he had someone else DNF at the start of the race. He went from P19 to P1 in a race, in a single race. Last the first challenge, he did it. It's secure. So, in the pink Red Bull, everyone says, but, so yes, if you think, I made that argument because if you think that Tsunoda, if you think Hadjar is better than Tsunoda and should go in because the better driver deserves to be in the Red Bull seat, Gabriel Bortoleto! P3! Sorry, I'm gonna pause that statement I was just making. Gabby. Oof. He woke up, he ate his Wheaties this morning. Yes, it's just Q2, but that is incredibly important for him. Max Verstappen just set essentially the same time. He's 100th quicker. That's impressive. That is very impressive, Gabby. Well done, lad. Kimi Antonelli now as well in the drop zone. He's P11 right now. George Russell is going to be at risk now in P10 as well. They're both on a flying lap right now, though. George Russell slightly behind Antonelli, so we are going to see Antonelli likely drop George out before we see Russell's time. So this is a bit sketchy for a George Russell fan. Antonelli is 2.5 tenths up on his current time. Let's see what Russell does. This is going to be interesting. Okay, Russell is like 4 tenths clear. Anyway, so it looks like Antonelli is going to finish behind Russell in Q2. He will move through to P8. Alonso is in P9 right now. CC, welcome along. And George rounds the final corner. Beautiful line. That's a nice time. P5, so he'll be happy with that. Not quicker than Bortoleto, though. And on new softs, Gabriel Bortoleto, I have a friend called Tiana. She will be absolutely losing it right now with excitement. In fact, I might send her a message. She's a Gabriel Bortoleto fan. She's also a journalist, so I'm going to question any article she's writes in the future because of her incredible bias. But she is a Gabby fan like crazy, so big ups. Pierre Gasly now rounds the final corner. He goes P6 as well. So Alonso's now out, P11. Hadjar's out. So what I was saying before about being in the Hadjar, in the Racing Bull car is, forget about it. But Lawson's going to make it through. Yeah. So Alex Albon, P12. Hadjar should have got out. In which case, Antonelli would have been dropped. Lawson, P9. So there you go. Right now, what you'd be saying is that Lawson should be in the second Red Bull seat instead of Tsunoda, based on this performance. But as we know, from the start of the year, it didn't work out. So, Joel, I think you're really jumping to conclusions here. You're very hostile right now. Tsunoda has been in F1 for 5 years. That's plenty of time. Yes, but he spent those entire 5 years in a Racing Bulls, which is only now starting to show some pace. Tsunoda has had quite a few good races in the RB over the years. He's shown a lot of pace. You've got to feel for Tsunoda, because you're looking at a career trajectory of being in the second team, which is miles slower and has never really been competitive. So he's been there for 4.5 years. And now, or however long it is, he's been at Racing Bulls his entire time. And now when he gets his opportunity to go to Red Bull, it's actually worse than the car that he was at before, which was considered the team. Make it make sense. You've got to feel for Tsunoda. He's not had a chance to prove himself. He's not had a chance to drive something that's gone, this is my representative pace in something competitive. So don't judge a book by its cover. Do I think that they need to find a way to get some younger talent in? That I think there's some people knocking on the door, coughs Arvid Lindblad. I do think they're going to have to find a workaround. Yeah, if you got to feel for Daniel, but also it had to be done. I'm an Australian. I love Daniel Ricciardo. You are my saint. I love you, brother. However, unfortunately, it had to be done. As much as I love Daniel and I would love to see him do well, the fact of the I mean, actually, I'd probably argue that he would be able to handle this car better than others. So we'll deal with that in due time. I feel like Daniel would have preferred this car than the others. But anyhow, as far as career trajectory goes, Daniel was looking at a situation of just hanging on for dear life. Or not, that's a bit harsh. But he was looking at a situation of bit outdated. Oh, opinion on who's getting the Cadillac seats? Well, it's not going to be Daniel, guys. Okay? It's not going to be Daniel. Um, it's. I think there's definitely an argument for there to be one existing driver to be brought in. Bottas or Checo would be my thoughts off the bat. Maybe if they wanted to kind of take a sidestep gamble, a Kevin Magnussen, because he's got more. I don't know. Maybe Kevin, but I don't think so. I think he's found his place elsewhere. Giovinazzi, again, maybe not. Alex Dunn, maybe. Now, the big thing that we've got to think about is that if Alex Dunn wins F2 this year, McLaren's going to want him as a reserve driver. But the fact is, he's not really going to get a seat, right? So then you look to outsource, and it's not a terrible shout. It's not a terrible shout. Arvid Lindblad, right? Giovinazzi is good in WEC, yep. Thank you, Ibrahim. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, when Nui left, it was essentially the downfall. Good stuff, Charles. Good stuff, man. Bottas and Dunn. Yeah, I don't hate that shout. I want to go back to that. I'm going to keep losing my point. Arvid Lindblad. Let's be honest. Talent in abundance. 17 years old. Red Bull Junior. You've got to feel for Pepe Marti, who has just won the sprint race here today. I see a bold call there. I see a Russell to Audi and Dunn to Mercedes. Don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm not going to read the rest of that because that's absolute waffle. Anyway, but Lando and Oscar stay at McLaren. Lando's kind of signed his name in blood. Oscar is winning the championship. Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Arvid Lindblad. Red Bull know that if they can't give him a seat, he'll find it somewhere else. Alex Dunn might be in a similar situation. It's a bit of a tough one. Arvid has the talent in abundance, and it's clear for everyone to see. And we have seen this previously with a few other drivers that have been coming through the ranks, and they've got their call up. Now, how does Red Bull find a spot for him if they don't want to let him go? Well, whomever it was before that was screaming bloody murder about Yuki Tsunoda might not be too disappointed. I think there's a case for Hadjar to Red Bull, and why can't I think? There's a case for Hadjar to Red Bull and Arvid to Racing Bulls. I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think it's a matter of Tsunoda finding a seat somewhere else, because I think he deserves a place on the grid, and at a team that's probably a bit nicer, in the sense that, I mean, I said 2 seconds ago how he was a slow Racing Bulls his whole time until he'd moved into a Red Bull that was a pain in the arse. So we probably wouldn't mind a move to an Audi, or if God forbid Aston Martin needed a seat filling, or gosh, like we don't know how the silly season's going to line up, right? It's going to be an interesting one. 2026, they're probably going to try and keep as much consistency as they can in the ranks. I'd be shocked if we saw too much movement. But then you could also make the argument that if you wanted to make a change, now would be the time. Anyway. Every Aussie is sponsored by Quadlock. Not necessarily sponsored, but I mean, they send me stuff and things like that. So I guess I've got a partnership sort of thing with them. Aston Martin might need to fill a seat. Alonso is a rookie. That's just getting old. Alonso being a rookie worked when he came back, and he was a rookie. I mean, obviously, rookie means you haven't completed a full season, but anyway. So he wasn't, but he's been back in F1 for years, bruv. My ears are so itchy, man. So I think Liam Lawson, look, they want Arvid, right? The guys that they'll want Arvid in. If Arvid wins F2 this year, Red Bull are going to be in a very big situation because they'll need to give him a seat. Otherwise, we'll go elsewhere. If Arvid wins wins F2 this year, Red Bull is screwed. Because otherwise, what they'll do is they'll keep him in F2 and have him on a reserve driver, right? That makes sense. But yeah, Don is winning F2, probably, or not probably, possibly. I mean, right now it is technically probably, because more probably than not based on mathematics, because he is winning right now. Not to get too nerdy about it, but he is probably the one who's going to get it. But anyway, I'm a nerd like that. But yeah, I think you think Max needs to go to save RB. You think Max needs to leave? You might not be too far off. It would be a rebuild. They would have to go back to square one. Max to GT3 is definitely a possibility. Max isn't the sort of guy who's going to stay around just for the sake of winning and breaking records. So if Max wanted to, GT3 is totally on the cards. He loves it, right? He's a big fan of that. So it's not shocking if he does. God did. Is he actually talking to Merc? Now let me break this down for you. Let me show you how easy it is for that rumor to be true. Pretend I'm Toto Wolff and pretend you guys at home, you sat there right now. You pretend that you're Max Verstappen or Max's agent even, right? Because it's all dealt with by their agents and their managers and stuff like that. And the job of a manager is to hear everything out and understand the best of everything. So watch this. I'm Toto Wolff. Same applies for every team principal on the grid. Oh, I'm Toto. Max Verstappen is the best driver right now. I see that there's maybe a chance that he could be open to moving somewhere else. Best driver in the world, I repeat again. Imagine having best driver in the world at your team. Oh, hey, enter Max's agents or Max's manager's name here. Look, I don't know what your situation is at Red Bull right now, but we'd love to have a chat to you and see where you guys are at for the future and what your plan is over the next few years. Look, if you've got time, I'd love to run over some things with you. We'll just see where things are at. You'd be stupid not to. Everyone would do it. Most team principals will have some level of correspondence with every driver's manager. Okay? And then Max's manager is going to hear it out. So for there to be talks or there to be real talks between Toto and Max, the answer is probably yes. But the answer is probably yes with about 90% of drivers on the grid to some degree. Of course, there's more consideration and probably more intention nowadays than there was 3 years ago with Max, because chances are of him getting persuaded away from the team is higher than ever. But there you go. But I will argue that if he was to go anywhere, it would be to Aston Martin. And that's no bias. I made a video on this literally a year and a half ago, and everyone called me stupid and crazy. But who's laughing now? I predicted that, hang on real quick, we've got Lando Norris finishing his first Q1 lap, and now he's got, so Piastri, it's not a stellar lap, 104.5, but Lando's straight away going to beat that by over a tenth. He rounds the final corner, and he goes 0.3 quicker than Oscar. Lando is looking magnifique. And Verstappen is not going quicker than Lando. Let's have a look. He's about to round the final corner. So this is everyone's first push laps. They're probably only going to get 2 laps in this session. Max goes third fastest. He's 6.5 6.5 tenths further down the field. That's wild. Leclerc was pretty quick. He'll go second fastest. He split the McLarens. He's gone 6 tenths quicker than Oscar. George has had a good sector 1. Not purple. He's 3.5 down. Yeah, sector 2 is, there's a lot of time to make up there. Sector 3 is all about balls. How much are you willing to push those track limits? Irrespective, that looked very close to track limits. Have they made the white lines like super fat or something? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I was saying with Red Bull. The second that the start of last year, we don't need to get into it. We know the things that sort of started happening at Red Bull. Right? There was a lot of controversy around a few leaders in the team, and there was a lot of discontent and expressed disgruntlement. Thank you, Kiki, for the follow. Between, I mean, pretty much everyone was up in arms. We had F1 and barbecue shapes. That is huge, Luke. So we saw that there was a lot happening at the team, and a few people were immediately not approving of certain things that could or couldn't have been happening. And right away I said, look, Red Bull's kind of looking a bit shaky. Adrian knew he's going to go to Aston Martin, and based on this, and this, if Max wants to leave Red Bull, which he might because of these situations or whatever going forward, if Max was to leave Red Bull, he'll go to Aston Martin. Because Newey will go there, at that point, there was no confirmation at all that he was going to go there. I just, trust me. I know my stuff. But, sorry, George, unsafe release. Yikes. Unsafe release noted. Okay. But so it's like, okay, so Adrian Newey, number 1. Number 2, as of 2026, Aston Martin are going to be a works engine team with Honda. Okay, so they're making their own engines next year. So that's going to be nice. They'll have a bit more harmony. And for most people, that's cool. But when you've got Adrian Newey designing your car around an engine that he's going to be able to have say in bits and bobs and weight distribution and things like that, that for Newey is like utmost freedom. They're giving everything to him that he could possibly need. They've got the best facilities in the entire sport, okay? Their new facilities are ridiculous. They've got shit tons of, for lack of a better word, of tunnel time from their placement in the grid. So 2026, they should have a nice bounce. So this year, right now, Newey's licking his lips. He's got so much air tunnel time. He's not used to it, mate. He's been with Red Bull, who have finished first for like the last 3 seasons. So he's licking his lips. But anyhow, Aramco, title sponsor, okay? This is a nice track to overtake, by the way. It's a good racing track. It's short enough as well, so there's lots of action all the time. Aston Martin, Aramco Formula 1 team. Now, I don't know if you know this, guys, yet, but so let's play a little quiz game. Does anyone know anything significant about next year in terms of regulation changes? Other than the cars itself, there's something else behind the scenes or kind of integrated into it that's going to be changing. Let me know if you guys know what that is. How did Alonso get knocked out? Just wasn't quick enough. Active aero? Yes, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. Smaller cars? Yes, not the answer I'm looking for. The ERS? No, not the answer I'm looking for. Slower? Well, it's probably bound to be slower at the start, but not what we're looking for. 3-wheel cars? No. Gasly will cook? No. I know you're talking about this session, but maybe he'll cook. Tires? Probably. They're always sort of changing. No one's got it yet. I'm liking this. We should do an F1 quiz again soon. Thank you, Kipper. MotoGP? No. Does anyone think we're going to get it? What? Something new in the regulations next year? Race Melbourne in reverse? No. Close one, Ibrahim. No. So, diesel. Actually, you're on the right track. 11th team, yes. We're not moving to diesel. We're in fact going the complete opposite direction. We're going to be using an entirely, there you go, Kurt, biofuel. 100% sustainable fuel. Okay? 100% sustainable fuel. Which is going to be Aramco. So, now, the official fuel partner of Formula One as of next year is Aramco, right? I mean, they already are, huge. You see the boards everywhere. But they are the fuel providers for next year. 100% fuel, sustainable fuel. It's a whole shebang. Now, to what degree it will actually make a difference, we don't know. Oh, yellow flag. That's just going to be probably from... I'm going to shut up for a minute because we're looking at the last few laps. We'll come back to it a little bit. They got that insider info exactly when making the engine to put in their new car. Boom. Anyway. Max is... Wait, has Max backed off? Right, that was smart. That was smart from Max. He wasn't too happy with the... Oh no, he's pulled over. Never mind, he's pulled over to the side. George Russell is absolutely flying right now on his old time. But George he's not improving. Lando, however, crikey, he's almost 3/10 up in the first two sectors. Lando Norris now is rounding the final few corners, penultimate corner 1, and it's now don't get track limits, Lando, up against the line. That was a beautiful take, and he might even break the always absolutely flown. He has broken the 1 minute 3s. It's a 1 minute 3.9. Oscar is absolutely helpless to that. He's 6/10 off. 6/10. Has Oscar even done a lap? Has he done a lap? Has Oscar must have made an error. I reckon he did. Is Oscar on a lap? No, he's not, is he? Oscar, hello? Gabriel Bortoletto. Come on. P8. That's not bad. That's not bad for Gabby. It's not bad. Oscar stayed in. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? Why have you done that? Didn't have a set of new softs, or what's that about? Interesting. Well done, Lando. I mean, big ups, my boy, but what's Oscar doing? Interesting. A good way to bounce back after Canada, that's for damn sure. He'll be happy about that. He's got a buffer between him and his teammate. It's McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Racing Bulls. Gasly's... Oh, he's done well to not put that in a wall. Holy crap. I don't understand it. That is incredibly close. That was the sketchiest we've had. Jeez. And I want to point out to you, ladies and gentlemen, all you chirping about, but got to get someone in to replace Tsunoda. No. The Racing Bull seat right now, for those younger drivers, is the better seat to be in. I'm sorry, Liam Lawson P6, Max Verstappen P7. Have that, all right? Don't doubt that second seat, or that second car, sorry. The sister team, no. I was about to say the mummy team, but I don't know if that's, like, weird. But great little vehicle. Hadjar, you don't want to be leaving anytime soon. Like, maybe you want to start lining something up heading into 2026. Yeah, fair. But right now, as it stands, you would take that Racing Bulls over the second Red Bull seat. Oh, my nose is so itchy all of a sudden. I don't know what the hell's going on. Lando pole position. Do I remember the Australian Grand Prix from 2024? Yes, of course, because I was there and I was working. What about it specifically? Pacific Rim Enjoyer. Ferraris is going to mess this up somehow. Well, look, George and Lance. What specifically about George and Lance? What do you mean, like at the end of the race? What? How close it was? Charles Leclerc P2. That's not a bad effort. He's give us a little wave. Thank you. How is Ferrari going to mess it up? I don't know. What happened with Max? He just wasn't happy with that lap and either made a mistake in sector 3. I don't know. Oscar won't be too happy with that. Look at him. And this. Oh, yellow flags had to slow. Right. Oh, probably because of the Alpine. That makes sense. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for qualifying. Let's run you through the standings for the grid. Sorry, not the standings. The starting grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. We've got Lando Norris in P1, Charles Leclerc finishing off the top row. Then we've got Pierre... no, we don't. Pierre Gasly spun. Sorry, trauma. I'm just upset that Piastri's time was screwed. We got Piastri in P3, Hamilton P4. That is a McLaren Ferrari top 4, and George Russell in P5. Liam Lawson in P6, and you're thinking, where is Max Verstappen? P7, below the Racing Bulls. So don't be chirping about how you got to get Hadjar in to the Red Bull seat. No, take your time. Take your sweet time. Below Max Verstappen is Gabriel Bortoleto in P8. It's a beautiful quality session for him. He'll be happy with that, especially considering he's got 12 places down to go see his teammate in P20. Antonelli in P9 and Gasly P10. Antonelli will be upset with himself after that one, I think. A bit unfortunate. Honestly, bigger gaps than I thought we'd have around Austria. We've got 1.6 seconds separating the top 10 there. Fascinating. And then below that, we've got, of course, the eliminated from Q1 and Q2. We've got Alonso P11, Albon P12, Hadjar P13, Colapinto 14th, and Behrman 15th, Lance Stroll 16th, Ocon 17th, Tsunoda in 18th, Sainz, unfortunate, in 19th, and Nico Hülkenberg in P20th. And that rounds out your grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. We might see some changes, we might see some penalties, who knows, but, mate, Lando Norris took P1 by over half a second. That's pretty damn impressive. How about that? Yeah, mental. Leclerc, he'll be happy with this, I think. I think for Charles, a good result here is a podium. You can't argue the fact that the McLarens should be getting a 1-2. Which order, we shall see. Norris gifted another pole. That is rage bait of the season, Riley. Well played. Ladies and gentlemen on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in for qualifying. We shall see you all tomorrow for the race. This is going to be quite the fascinating one. Until then, make sure you hit a like and subscribe, and we'll just take care, lads, on a real. Just like be sound, innit? Bye. See ya.